Hey, everyone. All right, I figured I would do a bit of a news update here, just on the slaughter that's going on in Palestine and Gaza. So I don't want to do one every single day because it's the same thing. It's Israel, Bibi and his group authorizing the slaughter of these folks over in Gaza. So they're constantly dropping bombs on them, blowing them up indiscriminately, men, women, children, all types. And it's considered normal. This happens over there from time to time, and just the world in general, this is considered normal. Whatever disgusting terms they have, like mowing the grass or whatever they call it, murder here is okay. It's normal. It's expected. People are expected to murder. It goes against your Ten Commandments. You know, um, it goes against the way here, like just putting everything down. Christian ideals like murder. This one's simple, right? This one's not difficult. You can't murder people. It's very easy. Like that's not a difficult one to figure out. You can't murder people. So, but they're doing it, and here it's normal. It happens all the time. It's considered normal. People are used to it, and it happens some more today. So you see all these people here killed. These aren't all terrorists. These aren't the 1,500 or 1,000 people that went over the border and killed all those innocent people. These are just civilians. I don't know how many of them were involved, but I think the kill count's up to like, what, 10,000 people? 10,000 beings, humans that have been murdered since this started. So let's say those bombings are really efficient and somehow you magically got all 1,000 of those people that went over and killed them, then the other 9,000 are civilians. But I'm sure the ratio of civilians is way higher because those bombs don't care. They're just dropping them to destroy infrastructure and destroy Gaza in general and push those folks out. So they want the Gazans gone, the Palestinians gone. Once they get all pushed out of Gaza, eventually they can work on the West Bank and get the rest of that cleared out at some point in time. Either way, it appears that Israel wants to be at war. Bibi Netanyahu wants to be at war. Politically, it works out for him. It's advantageous. This probably goes into some flawed religious, thoughts that they might have on their far right wing about this being their promised land, and somehow God wants them to have this land. God would never. Number one, God's not in the real estate business. Would God have wanted to save them from their abduction and slavery in Egypt? Yes. That's the kind of stuff that God does to help out the oppressed. Does God give you land that's already inhabited so that you can go genocide everybody out of that land, kill them all, take all their belongings, take all your war spoils, murder, and then take war brides? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because you can't murder, you can't enslave people, you can't take sex brides, none of that. None of that's allowed. So, no, that's not your promised land. God didn't give it to you because God would want to save you from slavery. That's the kind of stuff that God does, right? Helping out the people at the bottom. I mean, helping out everyone, especially getting your soul saved and helping everyone to live a wonderful life and a holy life. But, would God save you from slavery? Yes, God would do that. Would God give you land if it meant you had to genocide people that are also from God? No. God would absolutely not do that. So I don't want to hear any holy, promised land arguments. The promised land, while we're here, we'll get as close as we can, but there's only one promised land. Just one. And we'll try to get this place as close as we can, but unfortunately, this is a den of iniquity. This place that we call home currently. This place is full of sin. Absolutely filled to the brim. You know? It's full of sin. It is. And we'll work on it, but this is what we're dealing with right now. So let me just play this. So here we got a raid that killed 50 people at least. At least.
This is breaking news coming out of central Gaza with one of the worst Israeli airstrikes since the offensive began. A number of residential buildings have been destroyed in the Jabalia refugee
Buildings
camp.
leveled.
Early indications and witness testimony say potentially at least 50 people have been killed.
50 so far.
Hundreds more have been injured. You can.
Right? The kid's not a terrorist. I don't know how old he is, but he looks rather young, right? He's not a terrorist. Who's the terrorist in this situation? Look at it. Put yourself in that child's eyes, in that child's body. You're experiencing what that child is. Wherever that child was when that bomb hit. Who is the terrorist to that child? The person that dropped a bomb on that child is the terrorist. You have to put yourself in that child's situation. Whatever age he is, that child was bombed. That building that child in, a bomb was dropped on it to explode the building. And he was either nearby or got caught in the rubble. I don't know how it happened. But to that child, there was only one terrorist. And that terrorist was the person doing this. That dropped that bomb, that blew up that child. The terrorist was the one clicking the buttons. And also the one that ordered that person to go click those buttons. That's who the terrorist is to that child. Taking everything else out of the equation. Taking all of your biblical arguments, your promised land arguments, even take the initial terror attack out of it. Like, take that out. Just think about it from that child's perspective. The terrorist to that child was the pilot who dropped the bomb on that child's head or close by. And also the person or persons that authorized that attack to happen, which would have gone up to your prime minister, your president, your military structure, all the folks involved that are approving blowing up people, murdering people. Not murdering is one of the easiest commandments to follow. That's about as simple as it gets. Do not kill people, innocent people. Someone's running at you with a knife, running at you with a gun, instant self-defense, things like that. I understand. Because of where we are, there are a lot of bad people here. Just look at this. Look at this image. You can see there are a lot of bad people in this world. There are people that are blowing up children.
Here already entering
and there are bloodthirsty Israelis that are agreeing with it because they're upset about the terror attack that somehow happened. Now, how that terror attack, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but how that terror attack even happened in Israel with the amount of technology they have to monitor those lines, right, between Gaza and Israel, those separating lines in that embargoed place, been embargoed for 2 years now? How in the world did that attack even happen? And then it took hours for it to play out. Hours. And they were never approached by Israeli government. They were given enough time to go slaughter, I think it was 1,400 people. And somehow the Israeli government just oops and missed it. And that just happens with all the technology they have. All the artificial intelligence, all the cameras, all the automatic notifications, everything. Ground sensors, IR sensors, everything. All that technology. Somehow, all these terrorists, number one, you don't have any intelligence of this. As advanced as the Mossad is with their intelligence gathering operations, and your biggest threat is sitting right there in your country, in an area that you've embargoed, and somehow you don't, catch any wind of this that's going to happen. It just happens. And not only that, when it starts to happen, you don't pick up on it. All your cameras with your artificial intelligence and your automatic notifications, and you probably have gunshot sound sensors and bomb sensors, things like that. There's probably all of that in play. It has to be, because someone who you consider an enemy is sitting right there in your country. The one that since the early 1900s you came into and took over. So you would think that they would have lots of technology. Lots of ground sensors and all kinds of technology. Things I don't even know about. Technologies they don't even let the normal citizens know about. Right? We only know about what they tell us about and what they'll report on. They have way more technology than we know about. We'll probably have gadgets come out in 10 years they've been using right now in the military. But, initially they're for military use only. So take all that into account, with all the information and technology they have, somehow they just oopsed and let 1,000 or so people come into their country for hours and slaughter people in heinous ways. Slaughter them. Somehow they had hours to get this all done before they eventually were, contested and pushed back over. So it's very interesting. I find it quite odd that the government, number one, had no intelligence at all of this was going to happen. None. One of the most advanced intelligence operations in the world from a nation state. One of the most advanced. They don't catch any wind of this. And then when the psychopaths come over the border and start hacking people up and killing people, they have hours to do it before they're even contested. Somehow, in Israel, with all the technology they have, all the cameras they have all over the place, and those cameras have automatic notifications on it, I'm sure, facial recognition, I'm sure, and then somehow they're allowed for hours to go around massacring people, which just so happens to give Bibi a reason to go to war with Palestine again and to kill Palestinians again and to push them out of Israel entirely. Push him down into Egypt, push him wherever. He doesn't care. Right? Politically, he was not in a good position at all because of the judicial reforms. So things were not going well. And now, because they're at war, everyone gets to rally around the flag. You get all the Israeli citizens upset. And all the Jewish people around the world, right? They're being oppressed, they're being slaughtered. So this advantageously works out very well for Bibi and his leadership team. Because now the entire country gets stirred up into a rage. They get wrathful. They want vengeance. These are all sins. And now there'll be political support to go in and slaughter these people. Just like the ones in the hospital right now. These people right here getting killed. Every single day. Not sure if their electricity's back on now. Not sure if they're able to communicate now. They probably turn that back on. But they're in a kill box. They can't get out. And Israel gets to fly overhead all day and night, mashing buttons and murdering people. Because that's what it is. That's murder. And it's all, oddly enough, somehow happened with all the technology that Israel has and all their intelligence operations, all of Mossad being activated. Somehow they just totally missed it. And then because of that, they got 13 or 1,400 Israelis killed, or people that were in Israel at the time. Because of that, now you get your entire population stirred up into a rage, into a wrath. They're full of revenge. They want to hurt someone. They want payback. Revenge and wrath and rage, those are not of God. Those aren't. Right? Those are evil. And you cannot do them. You can't. But because of that rage and that wrath, now the population's going to support him. Well, he goes around and murders these people for who knows how much longer he'll get away with it. Whenever the Israelis stand up and tell their government to stop murdering people, thou shalt not kill, you should know that one. Right? Because of your history. Then the Ten Commandments, you put it in the ark. I think it's pretty important to you. But you don't follow it. You live in rebellion against God's commandments, which is why this place looks exactly the way it does. It's horrible. It's full of prostitution and murder. Everyone lies. People think it's, oh, yeah, it's a little white lie. No, people here just lie. They murder. They steal. They do whatever they want. Sexual immorality, prostitution, abduction, all of it. I mean, there's a lot of things here that happen, and it's just considered normal. It's just absolutely normal that these things happen. I'm still working on this list. I'll get through it all, but this place is an absolute travesty. And the laws are created by people that are full of sin, because most of them are greedy and they have more than they need, which is, par for the course here. But I don't want to get too far off topic. Just understand that this world that we live in currently is a fallen world. I don't know how much much more simpler I can make that. It's in really bad shape. But, thankfully, God loves us enough to pop back in and show us the error of our ways and to draw us near and to save us from this place. And while we're here, we're going to do everything we can to make this as close as we can to heaven. We're going to bring heavenly values and virtues into this swamp so that we can try to fix it. Because otherwise, you're just going to keep being misled. You'll be misled by greedy, vile, nasty politicians who will do whatever they want. Because some people would rather reign in hell than serve in heaven. That's an absolute fact. You're either built for service or you're built for yourself, for selfishness. But some people would rather reign than serve. And unfortunately, the people running your governments are full of a lot of people that like to reign. And that's not good at all. They're motivated by power and fame. They want money. They're greedy. Greed especially. And I think greed's a lot different. I'll do a separate video. I think greed is a lot different than what people think. I'm not talking about Scrooge McDuck and you're swimming around in your money, although some people do that too. It's basically having more than you need. So the bar's a lot lower than you would think. But let's get back to this. Let's get back to all the murder that's going on in Israel, which is every single day.
Stretched medical facilities, and
this is normal. In this place, this is normal. Because people in Israel are in a rage. So they'll support their government. Their government led... Oh, actually. Let's go to this. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. So let's check out the war update first. But yeah, so your boss over there, your prime minister, I didn't even know about this one. I had forgotten about it. So apparently there was an assassination, allegedly. I don't know for sure. Netanyahu's rise to power in the wake of the 1995 assassination of the former prime minister Yitzhak Rabin by a right-wing Israeli Jew. I'll have to go find a documentary on this. I just saw a piece of it, and it was really scary to know that people operate like this, but, I guess it's not that strange. The documentary explores the right-wing anger in Israel over Rabin's support over the U.S. brokered Oslo Peace Accord with the Palestinians. So the Oslo Accords are trying to get peace with the Palestinians. I think they were pushing for a two-state setup, which is what you need. And how Netanyahu became the face of the opposition as it grew more hostile. So it doesn't appear that Bibi wants peace at all, especially with the Palestinians. Why he hates them, I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a very biblical person because he doesn't understand that you can't murder people, which is one of the most simplest commandments in the world. It doesn't get any easier than that. Please don't murder people. Don't kill innocent people. Right? You got rescued out of Egypt from slavery. You got the 10 Commandments. You put them in the ark. What happened? You can't figure out that? It's the easiest commandment of all. Don't murder people. It's simple. But apparently he was not a fan of the Oslo Peace Accords because it would have brought peace to the Palestinians and a two-state situation. So he's not a fan. And if you go through the documentary, I don't want to get too off topic, but essentially they're claiming that he had him poisoned. Some kind of serum he put in his neck. I don't know what it was, some kind of poison. And then later on, I guess they find out that Mossad did it. And somehow there was some antidote, and they had to find the antidote. And begrudgingly they gave the antidote to him. I don't know if he made it or not. Probably not. It's like he was assassinated. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to go find a documentary so I can see it. But the way they were talking about it, it was pretty much a sure thing. He greenlit the assassination, through Mossad, and they used some poison in the neck. Like, that's the kind of, just understand the kind of people you're dealing with. Like, your prime minister, allegedly, per this information, of which you can go research yourself, don't listen to me, greenlit this guy to get killed with poison. So this is the kind of person that you have who clearly doesn't want peace because he was a huge antagonist against the Oslo Accords because it was going to bring peace to the Palestinians, right? Two-state nation. And he apparently wasn't a fan. And the person you're dealing with here is the kind of person that would approve poisoning of someone, an assassination via poisoning, and then to begrudgingly give them an antidote, allegedly. Go look the story up for yourself. That's the kind of person you're dealing with. So this is potentially the kind of person who politically was not doing well. Things were not looking good for him. Judicial reforms to take restraints off of him. The fact that he was trying to get those restraints taken off through the Knesset was not very positively looked upon. And the nation was having a ton of turmoil because of that, a lot of protesting. And then somehow, Israel just accidentally lets 1,000 or so terrorists, ransack the nation and just run around killing people for hours until they're eventually pushed back. So it's all very interesting how that all played out. Was it just a mistake? I don't know. It seems highly unlikely with the amount of technology and intelligence resources that they have to monitor a portion of the country that's been under an embargo for 2 years now. They consider them a threat. It seems odd that all that would just play out the way it did. But you should definitely look at the motivations of the people that are in charge of your military in Israel, because it doesn't appear that they want anything to do with peace with the Palestinians. I don't get the impression that Bibi wants peace with the Palestinians at all. So if you think that he's going to call for a ceasefire until he gets to kill everybody in Gaza, that seems unlikely unless the Israeli people step up and put a stop to this. Don't let your military leaders or your political leaders whip you up into a fury, whip you up into wrath, so that you will greenlight the slaughter of people in Gaza, which is what this looks like. An outsider looking in, that's what it looks like. But when you consider that you have leaders that would potentially order an assassination of someone with poison and then begrudgingly give them an antidote, which may or may not work, I don't know. Go look at the story yourself. These are the kind of people you're dealing with. And in a place like this, these are the kind of people you get, especially in leadership positions. Because we're in a swamp of sin. We're in a den of iniquity. And it's run by very nasty people who are very greedy, and they enjoy, or they at least and used to enjoy, the freedom that they had here to do whatever they wanted, right? With impunity, to just run around here and act like absolute barbarians and savages and greedy little trolls just doing whatever they wanted. But things are quite different now, and they're going to be quite different forever, for a long time. Long, long time. So just take an active participation in your country's leadership. Because when you elect people like this, if these things are true, but if you elect people like this, people that are willing to murder, if you're willing to murder, you have no position being in leadership. You have no business being in leadership. And politics is business, actually. That's why you get a lot of cutthroat people in business, because it's all about money and acquiring resources and things that'll mean nothing when you die. Anything you acquire here is gone Nothing you acquire here can go with you. Right? Unless you're here again. Unless you get out and you don't come back. But that's up to you. But as it stands today, where we are today, we'll get it fixed. But as we stand today, these are the kind of people you have running your countries. Greedy people, people that want power, fame, money, all the luxury things, like the luxury villa he's sitting up in for some billionaire, some luxury villa, enjoying the finest things in life. But guess what? You don't get to live forever here. Your bodies are term limited for a reason. It's part of your learning experience. So that if you live long enough, you can see that these things break down, and all that vanity and pride you have, it's going to be gone. You're going to lose it as you get older, if you're lucky enough to get older. But ideally, you want to make it home to the promised land eventually. But you don't get to just walk in there. You have to be worthy of being there. So you better start acting angelic so that you can earn your way home. But while we're here, we'll be dealing with leadership like this. Leaders that are willing to kill, willing to murder to get what they want. Whether that attack just, whether that was completely above board and they just oopsed and, somehow these thousands of people, came over and slaughtered for hours before they were contested. Who knows? That'll come out eventually. But either way, he's bombing and murdering people every single day. Every single day, this right here is going on.
What more are you hearing about this particular attack?
People getting pulled into ambulances, into hospitals, blown up, third-degree burns, limbs blown off. Look at this. This is what's going on. Sometimes they have electricity, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have communication, sometimes they don't. I think they're used to getting like 500 trucks a day back before this started. Now they're up to roughly 80 a week, which is almost nothing. So this is what's going on. That child's not a terrorist. Got treated like one, got blown up like one. It's not a terrorist. This is what you're agreeing to. All the people that are in Israel that are upset and they want vengeance. They're full of wrath. They want payback. Right? They want a tit for tat. They want payback. They want to see blood in the streets. You're guilty of this too, because you're supporting your government that is killing innocent people. But you're okay with it because you grew up here and you don't know any better. You should, but you don't. And I understand because I grew up here too. Currently. I grew up here, right? So I went through the experience of growing up here and living just like you. So I totally understand how this is acceptable. I used to sit around and fly Flight Simulator. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't kill anybody, right? It was all simulation, but because I lived here and grew up just like you, I had a fascination with, military and flight and air shows and things like that. But that's just a pretty facade they put on it. What these bombs actually do is they blow people up over a very wide range, take down entire buildings. They're absolutely destructive. They're horrible. They murder people in mass, dismember, disfigure, destroy everything. They're horrific. And because we live here, because of the values of this place, which are nothing like heavenly virtues, I assure you, like the values here are horrific. The values here are the kind where when something like that happens, you want vengeance. You're like, I want to go kill all these people. And then you tell your government, yeah, let's go in there, let's wipe everybody out. And the government approves to go in there and start bombing these people every single day, cutting off all their food, water, gasoline, which will impact their electricity, knocking out the electricity. You're treating these people Like everyone here, almost everyone here treats animals like they don't value, like they don't have souls. You're treating these people like they're soulless, right? The Israeli government is treating them like animals, which is horrific, which is also murder. But you don't understand that because you grew up here. You grew up with the values of this place, which are in rebellion. This place is in rebellion, and it has been for a very, very long time. The values here are horrific, and they're nasty. And, we'll get it fixed, but that's going to take a little time, and it's going to require us to change, right? We are going to have to change. Everyone's going to have to change. We're going to have to go from sinful to virtuous. And I'll try to finish up this list. It's as I think of things, I put them on here. And I'm still getting through the Old Testament. I just got into Jeremiah. So, I keep filling these out. But we're going to have to become virtuous. We're going to have to become holy. Like, this place is what it is, and there's no getting around that. I mean, it is. But it doesn't mean that it can't be fixed. But that's going to require all of us to start living with heavenly virtues, holy virtues, instead of sin. Instead of, we're going to have to fix this pit and make it holy. So we're going to have to raise the floor up. Right? You want top floor standards in the place we are currently. And it's possible. But we are going to have to change. All of us. However many billions, 8 billion people, however many we have, we're going to have to change. And then we can fix it. But you can't do it while you're blowing people up and murdering people. One of the easiest, most simplest commandments. Don't murder people. Don't blow people up. Don't set them on fire. Don't stab them. Don't hang them. Don't drag them down the street. Don't rape them. This is easy stuff. This is simple. But here, it seems difficult because, bad things are allowed to happen here. And it's based on our free will. So we have to choose to be holy. You have to choose it. And that's what we have to do to fix this place. And we have to get rid of all the leaders that act with the values of this place currently. Right? All your sinful leaders, they need to go. Because they have a control that they should not have. Right? They're not good enough to have that level of control and that level of power. With power comes responsibility. And to be in leadership, you have to have holy virtues. Otherwise, you'll have too much control here to do whatever you want. Which is why this place looks like it does. Because the leadership you have, they're sinful people. Right? And when you have a sinful person and you give them power, it only gets worse. They get more sinful, not more virtuous. Money hurts them. Money and power and fame, you give that to a sinful person, it's going to make them worse, not better. They'd be better off if they were broke. If they were broke on the streets, they would be better off because then they'd be more compassionate. They'd be more empathetic to people. But when you take a sinful person and you give them money, power, and fame, you're going to make them worse, exponentially worse, to the point where they will start greenlighting the slaughter of innocent civilians just to stay in power. That's what's happening. So I don't want it to be too negative of a video, but we need to understand the situation we're in. We need to realize this is not the top floor. Not even close. So, it needs to be fixed. But, God gives us the information, but it's free will. You have to choose it. You have to be virtuous. You have to be holy. God's not going to do it for you. Right? You'll be tested. And there'll be consequences, good and bad, based on how you act. How we all act. But we have to be holy. We have to live holy. That's the only way we're going to fix this place, is to live holy lives, to live in accordance with God's covenant. God says, hey, I created everything. I know how it works. Here's a list of things that you can and cannot do. This is the cheat sheet. Here you go. And unfortunately, you'll see a lot of these sins. We do a lot of these, right? Even something as sinful as like untruthfulness, lying, whatever you want to call it. Like, how many of you lie? Even if it's considered a white lie, just a little lie, just a little one. How many of you tell untruths? How many of you are untruthful? And we won't even go through the rest of this list, pride and pornography and envy and all kinds of other things, but just untruthfulness, just that one. How many of you will tell a white lie? It's not white. It's dark. You can't tell lies. So something just that simple that most people do. You know, if you look at this list, how many of these do you do? Probably a lot. I'm sure it varies per person, but to fix this place, you're going to have to use your free will. And you're going to have to choose to be a holy person. And then you're going to have to get 8 billion people to do the same thing. And it will happen, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. So until that all changes all over, focus on you. Because maybe you can't control 8 billion people currently, right? That's going to take time. But all of these things you can control. You personally can fix all of these in your life. Right? You can do it. You don't have to wait on another 7.9 billion people to get on the train. You can get on there today. You can be holy today. You can decide today. You're not going to lie. You're not going to be wrathful. You're not going to be vain. You're going to tell the truth. You're not going to steal. You're not going to kill yourself. You're not going to be slothful. You're not going to have any slaves, no sexual immorality, no seductive dancing, rape. Go up the list, right? You can choose to stop all of that. You could be holy today. Today. You can start today. You don't have to wait on everybody else. I'll deal with them. We'll get them fixed. But you can start today. Right? Secure your ticket to the promised land. And we'll work on fixing this. But you can fix you. And then you can vote. And you can talk to people and explain to them what leadership should look like. Right? How does your leadership stack up against this list? And I'll get this finished, but like, how does your leadership stand up? Trust me, not well. Because here, it's okay to be sinful. People are like, well, it's just the way it is. It's not just the way it is. You think that's the way it is up on the top floor? No. It's only like that down here. Because we accept it. We think it's normal. We think it's normal to sin. Yeah, I look at pornography. Yeah, I'm kind of greedy. I have way more than I need. I've got 3 summer homes or vacation homes and got all these big trucks. I don't need all this stuff. Yeah, I'm greedy. I use foul language. I'm envious. I destroy the environment, dishonor my family, discriminate here and there. But, it's normal. I'm conceited. Got lots of body modifications and I'm boasting. I'm arrogant, Kill a bunch of animals, but, other than that, I'm a nice person. Really? You might want to ask God about that. Because you're definitely not heavenly or angelic in our current state. Because we do a lot of these. A lot of them. So, I think you just worry about you. We'll worry on getting this place fixed entirely and getting, the floor raised up. But until we do, just focus on you. So that hopefully with your voting, we'll have political leadership in place to where we won't have to deal with this. With dropping bombs on people every single day. Killing all these people. Look at this. I don't even want to watch the whole video. It's horrible. It's just terrible to watch. But you get the idea. You get the idea. So, and I don't want this to go too long. I don't want to tie up any more of your day. So I'll leave it go at that. But we'll we'll get this place fixed. Just worry about you for now. So if 8 billion people fix themselves and get in alignment with God and God's covenant, new covenant, if you like to call it that, which it is. So if you want to get on the train, to go home eventually, you might want to listen to God's commandments, which have been given to us, right? This is our covenant. And each person individually decides if they want to be in agreement with that covenant or not. Right? It's your choice. You don't have to worry about, oh, well, everyone does this. I don't care what everyone does. I only care what you do. Right? Your sins are on you. You're virtuous, that's on you. Right? It's an individual journey. It's just you. It's your soul. It's your journey. So you can say, oh, well, people will never, I don't care. You just worry about you. If 8 billion people just worry about themselves, the whole world gets fixed. Because I would hope that a lot of people wouldn't want to be evil and, sinful. But it happens because of free will. You have to choose it. You have to choose to be virtuous. You have to choose to be holy. And here, you're going to look weird. You're going to look strange, at least for a while. Because that's not what people here do. Right? People here sin. This is a den of iniquity. People here sin all over the place. So you're going to be strange for a little while until we get the rest of the place fixed. But for now, all you got to do is fix you. Doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Just fix you. That way, one day, when your body perishes, hopefully not from having a bomb dropped on your head, then hopefully, you'll get to go home. And you'll be great. And it's an eternity, right? It's going to be awesome. All you have to do is agree with God's direction and advice and live in a holy covenant with God and be of service, right? Help people, help the planet, help the animals, right? Their souls matter just as much as yours does. I know you feel high and mighty, but they're in a vessel, you're in a vessel, you have a soul, they have a soul. It's no different. Treat them the same way, right? Be nice to people. Be nice to others, other sentient beings. Just take care of you. If 8 billion people just fix one person, which is themselves, this whole place gets fixed. So all it takes is one person times 8 billion people. So if 8 billion people literally just worry about themselves, the whole world gets fixed forever. And then when you get to go home, that's amazing too. But let's just focus on where we are right now. So hopefully the people in Israel take a stand against their leadership and tell your leadership that you are not okay with murdering people, because God is not okay with murdering people. Hamas should release all of their civilians, the ones that haven't been blown up. Those should be released also. Everyone's responsible individually for what they do. What they do with their hands, the way they talk, the way they interact, the way they control things. It's all individual, right? Everyone in Israel is not guilty of bombing these people. But if you're supporting them, well, you're someone who supports murder. So what do you call that? Go back to the list. You can't murder people. Take it back to even your most basic 10 commandments, right? After you got taken out of slavery, your 10 commandments. What happened there? Right? You got plenty of idols in your life. Money and fame, all kinds of things. Lots of things are idols. And you're okay with murder, apparently, because you're supporting a tit-for-tat war to blow up civilians. So, you want to go take a look at those. But that's it. I'm not going to watch the rest of it. I can't take any more of it. I can't stand to see it. But remember that God loves us, and God wants to provide guidance so that we can save ourselves. And we can save the planet. We can save our bodies. We can save our souls. Right? We're going to save everything. But that requires each one of us to change. So 8 billion some odd people need to decide to be holy. And need to make holy decisions and be virtuous. And it's going to be weird. Trust me. If you try to adhere to every one of God's wishes, you'll be weird here for a little while because this place sucks. But we'll fix it. That's it.